So first of all, thank you. My name is Jim Savellico, and I want to congratulate you guys for being here because it's awesome. And from what I understand, you guys all have a history of being successful at things, right? You come from like a good family. You've been successful at sports, at school, at life, at being a good friend, and that's awesome. But it's not going to get you very far. And I want you. This is a weird thing to say. I get it, and this is not something you're probably going to be used to hearing, even for the adults. I think we don't hear this enough, in that success is very poorly defined. And if you have a history of being good at stuff and being successful comes natural to you, because this was me at a certain point. I started my first business when I was 8 years old. And it sounds kind of stupid, I get it, but I'll walk through that story in a second. I failed a lot in life. And there was a time where I was sitting in a chair like this. I went to Farmingdale, so not here, but I've been in this position where, bless you. Okay, all right, so back to business. All good. The thing about success, let's take it back a step. I started my first business when I was 8 years old. I was out in the neighborhood cutting grass because I was home, and I was like, all right, let's do something. I'm not just going to sit around. Let me just do something productive, because my father was always hard at work, my brother, sister, mother, always productive members of society. So I felt this pressure for me to be successful and to do something important. So rather than sitting home, I was like, let me go do something. I went around the neighborhood and cut grass. And you're like, Jim, this is a stupid story. What am I learning from this? I made like $200 a week as an 8-year-old kid. In the 90s was like, I was rich. Right? I could do whatever I wanted. I went to the toy store. I was like, load up the cart, mom, let's go. And I got this early sensation of being financially successful, and it felt awesome to have that. And I parlayed that into a couple other businesses. As of right now, I have 4 different businesses that I do prime time. One is a sushi restaurant, one is a marketing agency, one is a dog toy company, and one is a software company. And I identified very early on that feeling financially successful, feeling like I could just go out and do whatever I want, felt awesome. Like I felt like I could just, whatever it was, I knew success. I knew that I could just naturally go do a thing and have it be successful. I didn't take notes in school. Wasn't the best student in terms of like, hey, I'm paying attention. Sat in the back of the class. Never took out a notebook, but I was top 10 in my class. For me, it was easy to be successful. And the reason I started this by telling you that success is not going to get you everywhere you want to go is because it wasn't until I really failed, like at the brink of losing my family, losing my business, losing myself, that I understood what success really meant. And that sucked really hard. So my goal here today is to just share that with you and hope to give you some perspective on what actual success really means and prevent you guys from feeling that pain now. So going through it, I am 27 years old at this point. Well, not now. Back in time, 27, and I started my first family, well, only family. My wife says, hey, we're pregnant. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. We're gonna have a kid. I'm like, hey, this is cool. I'm gonna have a kid for the first time. Scared out of my mind. I don't know how to be a dad. I knew how to go make money. That was cool, that was easy. Didn't know how to be a dad. But I'm like, all right, well, I've got a history of being successful. I know that I can go and do a thing and just, it comes easy to me. I'll just do it. All right, cool. So I brought that same mindset that I had for school, for business, to just go out and do a thing and not worry about, am I gonna be successful or not? Because I had this, I grew up always just doing what I wanted and had this like success built in. I knew ahead of time it was gonna be good. So we have our first kid and I'm like, all right, well, now the kid's here. I don't know what to do with this thing. And I'm just telling you this honestly, my father, I love him to death, wasn't the touchy-feely, hey, I love you, I'm proud of you kind of dad. It was, go work hard. He was gone from the time I woke up to the time I went to bed. And that's what I saw. I saw the role of a dad is to go out and just to provide, right? To just go out, do the thing, make sure that the family's got what they need, and that was it, right? All right, cool, I could do that. So I leaned into what I knew. I knew that that was what I was supposed to do. I was supposed to just go do what my dad did, go out there and be successful. And worked for a little while. I went out and listen, I've got the bank account, the house, the cars, like I've done all the things that everyone equates to success. Life was great, right? By social media standards, I'm like, hey, the bank account looks great, cool cars in the driveway, house is nice, I could go wherever I want, buy whatever I want. Life is good. Because I think for a lot of us, especially in this scenario, we think that's what success is. And it's not. So I would show you, my phone is over there recording, but October 29th, 2016, 8:45 at night. I come home, it's my son's 6th birthday. If I cry during this, it's because it's real. 8:45 at night, I come home, my son's 6th birthday. If you asked me what I was doing, working, I couldn't tell you. But at the time, I was like, hey, whatever I'm doing, it's more important. I got to do this thing. I was like, I got to be successful. I got to do this. I got to provide for my family. I missed my son's birthday cake. And I came home, and I was like, let's sing happy birthday. And my wife pulls out the cake, and half of it's already gone. And my heart sank. And I remember sitting in that moment like, this is not success. Like, this is not what success feels like. I can go out and I can make $1 million. I can go build a business. I can do whatever I want, right? I'm supposed to be a successful person. I've had a lifetime of doing whatever I want. I could show up in school and not take notes, and I could just naturally be successful. I can go start a business. I can go sell it to anybody. I can be successful. But what is this? Like, and I was pissed off. I'm standing there in front of half of a cake, and my kids are trying to stay awake. And I'm pissed at my wife, and pissed at my kids, and pissed at everybody. And I remember standing there, 8:45 at night, singing happy birthday over half a cake. And I'm like, man, this is not what life is supposed to be. This is not what I'm supposed to be doing. This is just wrong. So I used that moment, and I did what a good buddy of mine told me to do, was give meaning to the moment. Like, not just sit in that moment where I felt like this sucks, and then just move on and just ignore it and then drown out with something else. I said, this is a moment I'm going to actually do something about. And I got real intentional about what success really meant. It took a lot of work, still working on it. But going through that moment made me realize that success wasn't, hey, can I go out and build a business? Can I go make some friends? Can I go buy a really nice car? What can I accomplish in the material world? When I had no relationship with my wife, my kids barely knew me. I didn't really know myself. Like, my identity was, can I provide? It was, how much money can I put in the bank account? That was, what am I worth, right? And the reason why I'm telling you this is, if I was 16, 17, 18 years old, and someone told me that, I might be like, dude, you don't know what's going on, I got it all figured out. Because I was in this spot and I was like, I'm bulletproof. I know what I'm doing. I know how to go out and do things because I'm used to that. Right? I'm used to achieving. I'm used to this success. It comes naturally to me. I feel like I'm superhuman. I can just go do whatever I want. And it wasn't really until I failed really hard that I really knew what success meant, and I understood a lot looking backwards. So that's what I want to really share with you today is what you can learn now and the things you could use to give yourself kind of a step up so you don't have to go through that pain, because it sucked. Number one, understand the difference between hard work and talent. Because I'm just going to make an assumption. I'm going to assume a lot of you are naturally gifted at the things you do. It comes easy for you to do. Give me an example. What's something that you're really good at?
Talking to people.
Okay. If you're really good at talking to people, do you have to think about it a lot, or can you just naturally do it?
Kind of just goes.
Okay. So what happens when you're in a scenario in your life where, let's say you're a salesperson, you got to go talk to somebody. What's your name? Sophia. Okay. Sophia, I'm going to pick on you for a second. I'm going to make this up, so bear with me. Let's say Sophia's not very good at talking to people, but Sophia really needs this sales job, Sophia is willing to work 19 hours a day. When things get really hard, Sophia's going to be used to working hard. You're going to be like, no, I could just show up and talk to people. It's cool. I'll just go talk. But when it comes down to it, when life gets really hard, because it's going to, Sophia's going to have a lifetime of being like, man, I suck at talking to people. And again, sorry, nothing personal. But if you're not used to that, and you have to intentionally work hard on it for the rest of your life, when things get hard, you're in your comfort zone. You're good. You could just go and do it because you're used to working hard at that thing already. Now you're like, all right, well, talent's not going to get me very far. I'm in a room where people are all equally talented. It's going to come down to grit and hard work. And now she's got a leg up on you. So what I want you guys to think about now is, what are you naturally gifted at? And go work really hard at it. But here's the other thing, part 2. I want you guys to understand I am not qualified to do this, okay? It might be a weird thing to say. I have no qualifications that say, hey, Jim, you have a degree in public speaking. Okay, I went to school for marketing. I went probably 2 more days than I actually needed to get a degree. My parents didn't believe I actually went to college. I didn't see the need for college at the time because I was like, I have a business that's running, I'm making a ton of money, I'm going there just because my parents wanted me to go. But I went. Again, not for public speaking. I went for business, maybe 1 or 2 classes more than I needed to, so I didn't get kicked out. I went to Hofstra Honors College. I got a scholarship for my grades. I was like, hey, this is cool. I could show up. Again, same sort of thing. I'm being essentially paid to go to school because they want me to come here. I did a 5-year program in 4 years. I actually got a B+ in a class I never went to once. That's my claim to fame. They messed up somehow and put me in a class that I just never physically went to. I got a B+, and I was like, all right, cool, I got a B+. Great, let's get moving. I still have to say, each one of you has a gift, okay? And if your gift is talking, Sophia, what do you think your gift is? Dance. Okay. If you lean into that gift and do not worry about, how do I make money from it? What is somebody going to think, right? How is it going to provide for me? But if you just show up and freaking dance your heart out, that's where like life gets really good, when you could just be in that moment and just share your gift. Okay, because a lot of us, we look at the expectations from our parents, our friends. Hey, am I qualified to do this? Like, life's going to put you in some situations where you're not going to know what to do. Be like, oh man, I didn't get taught this before. But you've got people around you, like the people in this room, who will love and support you, even when you're feeling frustrated, even when you're scared, you don't know what to do. Because the thing is, nobody does. Okay? There's not a person in this room who has all the answers. Not me, not Mr. Gomes. Like, none of us know the answers. Pete, you still struggle?
Absolutely.
Okay, me too. I struggle a lot. And, it wasn't until I really understood success is not in the end results. Okay, if you go to a dance contest, do you go to contests okay. You go to your dance competition and you perform. If you get to the end of the competition and you do not get a medal, award, what do they give out awards, medals? How do you feel? Okay. The older you get, once you get into like this age, the stakes are a lot higher. You're getting into situations where you deal with financial struggles, relationship struggles, death. And I'm not saying that like we don't all have these things already now, but it gets incrementally harder the older you grow. If you start assigning value to success, and like when you show up at that dance recital, if you say, I'm gonna feel good only if I win. If at the end of this performance, I've trained for months, I've trained for years to go do this specific dance, I learned the choreography, I did this thing. And at the end of it, some random 3 people in the crowd say, I don't know, Sophia didn't do this thing right, she's not qualified to win this award. And you put your value on that, that sucks. You know what I mean? Like what you gotta do is you gotta learn to love the process more than the product. Because if you really show up there and you dance your heart out and you take the joy from the dance, who cares? I don't care what the judge says. It's not up to that. It's like so many of us live in this world where we get value from what other people think of us. Whether it's likes in social media, whether it's comments and shares, whether it's how many friends we have, whether it's how we think we're in the cool crowd. I don't care. Yeah, I don't. And the reason why? Because I know who I am. I don't need to get validation from anyone in this room. Yeah, I love you guys. I don't even know you, but I love you because you have potential. And I don't really care if at the end of this, just being frank, if you're like, man, that guy Jim sucked. Okay. It's not gonna bother me. On the way home, it's not gonna bother me. I'm willing to come stand in this room, pour my life out to you guys, because I love you and I see your potential. And if you didn't receive the value from that, I know I gave everything I had. I enjoy this part. I enjoy helping people, giving them perspective, and being there for an example of what's possible if you get your stuff in the right order. I don't assign my value based on what other people think. I assign it based on what I did. Okay? I know that I worked really hard for years, failed a lot, and I'm willing to fail publicly in front of other people because I know that there's potential in that. And if it gives one person in this room an example of what's possible, we're like, hey, when you go to do your next public speaking gig, right? Whatever it is you're gonna do with speaking. And at the end of it, you're like, people booed. All right, cool. I'm gonna go do something else. That's what you need, because life is not gonna clap for you every time. You're gonna get into a lot of situations in life where it's really quiet in the room. And if you keep thinking success is the answer, you're gonna be really upset a lot. But when you start pegging your value based on who you are, not what other people see you as, and you know you can show up and you can give everything you got, at the end of it, you're like, all right, cool. I did what I had to do. I showed up. I put in the work ahead of time. I gave every ounce of heart I had into that dance, into that speech, into whatever that performance is. Real subtle. But it's just about showing up with who you are. Again, each one of you has a gift. And I want you guys to think really hard about what that gift is and not care about whether or not someone else qualifies you to share it with the world. Nobody gave me a stamp of approval and said, hey, Jim, you're qualified to go speak to kids. I'm not, really. No one ever told me that. But I have lived a life where I've embraced failure, used it to my advantage to help other people, and I'm here. And my goal is to provide at least one person in this room with some perspective on how to live a life where you know who you are, where you know what's possible, you have a good relationship with failure, and you don't have to worry about what other people think about you. Because the thing is this, as you get further ahead in life, you're gonna want more stuff. And I understand, like right now in your world, life is complicated. There's a lot of stuff to figure out. Whether it's relationships, friendships, school, work, whatever. I don't mean to say that life right now is not complicated, but the good news is it gets worse. The fun part there is when you can start understanding that that's a good thing. That failure, every time you fail, it's not, oh man, I'm out, I'm done, I'm the worst. Again, you know who you are. You know that you gave everything you had, you found a way that didn't work. All right, cool, you go try something else. You start to disconnect yourself from the end result. You disconnect yourself from, hey, I didn't win an award. All right, cool. I know what I did. Maybe I can improve. Sure, I can always improve. And go do it again. I'm gonna keep doing it, and I don't care what anyone else says about whether or not you won the award. I showed up, and I gave someone else in the crowd. A little 3-year-old girl in that crowd was like, wow, Sophia can dance. I wanna be a dancer. And let me tell you something, that 3-year-old girl now has a vision for her life. Is that worth more than an award? Hell yeah, it is. But that's from showing up and being who you are. And it doesn't matter if anyone qualifies you to be that, but finding your gift and living in it. Again, I know this is kind of all over the place. I do not speak professionally for a living. I'm just a dude who's failed a lot and just wants to share. So apologies if I'm kind of rambling here, but I can't stress enough how important the perspective that you bring into the world really is. And when I say that, there's a quote that I heard once, meant a lot to me because I've been in a spot where I try and get identity and value from other people, from relationships, from money, from cars, from whatever. You're never going to be able to find on the outside what you can't first find on the inside. And what that means is if you're trying to find joy, happiness, value, you're not going to find it from drugs, alcohol, friends, whatever. Even if it's dancing, even if it's speaking, even whatever it is. If you're not first happy with yourself. And part of that is knowing who you are. And it's really uncomfortable sometimes to sit and figure out, who am I? Because like we live this life where we get so much identity from how many people say we're wearing the right clothes. How many people liked our post on whatever social media platform you want to use. And the real world doesn't work like that. If you keep trying to go through it that way, it's going to be a road of pain. And you're going to have to make a decision. Like, is my life... You're going to have pain regardless. And I know this sounds like, man, this is not that optimistic, but I'm just trying to be real with you. You can either deal with the pain of having uncomfortable conversations, of being like, hey, I'm struggling, I need some help. Or maybe I'm not the best at this and I could use some improvement. I could use a coach. I could use someone to talk to. I could use a counselor. Hey, I need some help. That's uncomfortable. It sucks to admit that we're in a tough spot. It sucks to admit that I need help. But if you skip that and just try and live your life by yourself and do whatever it is you want to do on your own, the pain is going to come from just eventually life kicking you in the face, because I guarantee you it will at some point, is way worse. So what I'm encouraging you to do is lean in. I said before that I got to a spot, my son's 6th birthday, October 29th, which is coming up. He's going to be 10. I had no relationship with my wife, hardly any relationship with my kids. I had no identity of myself. And at the time I was like, I had this sense of like, I could do anything, I'm awesome, I got this value because I can go provide. And that's what I thought my value was. Going through that moment, sitting there, standing in front of that half a cake and realizing like, this is not success. This is not what life is supposed to be, was really uncomfortable and led to a lot of uncomfortable conversations about, hey, wife, I suck as a husband. I'm not honoring you. I'm not providing for you. I'm not really showing up in the way that you want me to be. Hey, kids, your dad maybe didn't do the best job for the first 6 years. That sucks. Okay, none of us want to stand in front of anybody and be like, I sucked as a friend. I sucked as a dad. I sucked as a husband. I didn't know who I was. It's uncomfortable. But now I've gotten to a point where I can stand in front of my wife and she can be like, hell yeah, that's my husband. He supports the ever-living crap out of me. My kids, I had to literally prevent them from getting in the car with me because they wanted to be here. I was like, you guys are going to be bored out of your minds. So I don't care, Dad. I want to support you. I was like, I love you. Thank you. But it didn't come from me avoiding the discomfort. It came from me leaning into the things that sucked. And again, I know this has been a little random, but it's me. Okay, and again, I'm not qualified to be here. You're going to find things in your life that you're not qualified to do. Do them anyway. Okay? What do you want to do? Something in health and fitness? Yeah. Okay. What do you want to do? FBI? All right. Sure, know that one. Lacrosse. Good choice. What's life got for you?
Hopefully, baseball maybe.
Okay, what about for you?
I don't really know yet, honestly.
Good. Keep that energy. And I don't even say that sarcastically. I mean that like, I don't even know what I want to do yet. The answer's changed a lot over the years. There was a time when I was 15, 16 years old where I thought I knew what I wanted to do. I went and did it, and I was like, I don't know, this isn't it. But just go do stuff. There is no one who's going to live your life but you. Okay, so I know it's like, you probably got pressure from your teachers, your parents, your friends to be like, what are you gonna do with your life? Where are you gonna go to school? What are you gonna do? What are you doing this? I don't know. Show up every day. Be a good person. Right? Keep chasing the dream. Even if you know what the dream is, show up and chase it. Like that's what I want to speak into you guys is not you have to have all the answers. It's not you have to know exactly the next step. Real life is this. Okay? This is a perfectly normal day for all of us. I'm not qualified to be here. You don't know what you want to do. I don't know, who knows? Were you being good people today? Were you kind to someone today?
Yeah.
Good. That's all that matters. Like at the end of this, newsflash, you're gonna die. Okay? I don't know if that's like news for you guys, but I'm not even being like hyperbolic. It's really true. All right? December 28th, I got a scar on my back this long. I got a titanium cage. December 28th, 2008. I was in a really bad car accident. I was in the field. I was going 65-ish miles an hour. Rear-ended me. I could have died. I didn't. Point being, I got to a spot in life. I was on the side of the road in a wrecked car. And a guy on the sidewalk, it's a rainy night, like 11 o'clock, he came over, he's like, how are you alive? I was like, where am I? I had no clue what was going on. He's like, you just went through 3 lanes of oncoming traffic, didn't hit a thing. I was like, I don't know. I don't even know where I am right now. But the reason I say that is, on the ride home, okay, and I'm just being real with you, because again, this is what it is. I might get into a car accident on the way home. I might not get to see my family tonight. That's uncomfortable. But it means when I leave this in the morning, I tell my wife, hey, I love you. I tell my kids, hey, I love you. And I show up every freaking day with the intentionality that I might not get that opportunity again. So if you get to be 20 years old and you still don't know what you want to do, but you've lived every freaking day of your life being a good person, showing up with love and kindness and gratitude and being a great friend, helping people feel loved, seen, heard, and appreciated, you win, okay? And even if you said, hey, Jim, I want to be the president of Microsoft, whatever, okay? If you did it, guess what? You're still going to die, okay? It's not going to change anything. So just show up and be a good person. Look, I know this is a bit of a ramble. I don't have the answers, but I do have this. Every person that you meet wants 4 basic things. They want to feel loved, seen, heard, and appreciated. Okay, those 4 things. All of us, me included, want the same thing. If you're not getting them, you're going to look for them somewhere else. If you're not giving them, people are going to look for them somewhere else. When you approach situations in life, I want you to keep that in mind. Do I feel loved, seen, heard, and appreciated? Does the other person on the other side of this conversation feel loved, seen, heard, and appreciated? And it comes with a lot of intentionality. It's not me standing up here saying, how can I show up in a room, talk for however long, 50 minutes, get a paycheck and go home and have a great day. I'll sit here for half an hour or 6 hours because I want each freaking person in this room to feel loved, seen, heard, and appreciated. And if that means I have to give you all my cell phone number and you'd be like, hey, Jim, I'm struggling, I don't know what to do. Cool, I'll do it. Because you gotta be intentional with life. I might not get the chance to meet you again, okay? I might not. Whether we just happen to not cross paths, whatever, but I'm guarantee you what, I'll tell you, it's also because you went to Hofstra. That's where I went too, I think. I care. I care if you go to play baseball. I care if you go play lacrosse. I care if you go dance, right? I'm scared of you in the FBI. But it's about being a good person, okay? It doesn't matter how much money you make. It doesn't matter if you're a president of a company. It matters if you're a good person. That's the end of it. If you could be a good person, if you could provide value to people, if you can make them feel loved, seen, heard, and appreciated, at the end of the day, you lay your head on the pillow and you know that you've poured out everything you had. You've given it your all. You showed up with intentionality to every situation you come into. That's it. You win. So I'm going to end it there unless anyone has any questions. Go.
Can you speak more on how you came to find yourself?
Yeah, that's a great question. Figuring out who you are is probably the hardest thing you're ever going to have to do in your life. So, step number one in that is you got to understand that no one cares. Seriously. Every person in this room right now is thinking about their own life and their own crap. They're not thinking about what's going on in your life. You are. And it's very easy to fall into the trap of what's everyone else going to think? What's everyone going to think if I do this? If I'm wanting to be whatever it is I want to be? To sit in it and think, if I want to go show up and I want to, I don't know, whatever. What do you want to do with your life?
Do something in computer science.
Okay.
Go to college.
Okay. Do you care if other people think that's nerdy, if that's weird, if you should go be a lawyer, if you should go dance, if you should do something else?
Not necessarily. That's the path I chose, and I think it's right for me.
Good. That's the energy you got to keep. Because at the end of the day, guess what? If anyone here is judging you for doing computer science, okay, so what? You still got to live your life. They don't. And the thing is this. I've done a lot of things in life, some of them sketchy. I've been judged for all of them. The good things, the bad things. And you get to a spot where you just don't care. Not in a bad way, but like you realize that no matter what you do, people are going to judge you. They're going to criticize you, and they're going to have whatever to say. It's okay. Mostly because a lot of people, it's an easy deflection. It's easy for me to be like, what was your name?
Jess.
Jess. It's easy for me to be like, oh man, Jess, she wants to go doing this, what a waste of talent. Because that takes the pressure off of me. And you're going to find a lot of people, no matter what it is you go to do, people are going to criticize you for it. And if you try to live your life by what other people tell you from the outside in, okay, you're like, man, I really want to go do this, but I'm nervous what people are going to think. I really want to go stand up and dance, but I'm nervous if people are going to judge how well I dance. I really want to go have a presentation in front of a bunch of kids, but I'm nervous if people are going to judge me and say I suck. No matter what, people are going to judge you. And if you try and live your life by what everyone else thinks you should do, you're going to make an adjustment. You're going to be like, all right, cool. Everyone said I should go do this. I'll go do that. And guess what? When you get there, people are going to judge you. They're going to be like, oh, no, you still suck at that. You should have gone and done this instead. You're going to live your whole life always trying to fit into everyone else's expectations except your own. So in order to figure out your identity and who you are and get to that part, the strongest thing you can do is not care. Not worry about what other people think. It sounds simple. It's not easy. Like it's legitimately the hardest thing you're ever going to do in your life is to not care what other people think. The trick that I found is to get around other people who also don't care. Like you get relationships. Relationships are one of the biggest life hacks ever. Okay, and people want to be like, they live in this world, especially now, where you're like, how can I use an AI bot to build my business in 3 days and be a millionaire? Like we're always looking for the quickest, cheapest way to like do some awesome stuff. Relationships, that's the hack. When you get around people who have shared core values, who are going to the places you're going, who align with who you are, first of all, you feel comfortable. You don't have to pretend to be something else that you're not, because they give you that spot where they love you for who you are. So get around those people. And the easiest way to identify them and attract more of them is to be one yourself. So if you can stand up and be like, hey, I am who I am. I am willing to stand up and take the criticism because it's me. Okay, and none of you have to live my life but me. So at the end of the day, when I go to bed, I am the one who has to pay the consequences for whatever decisions I made in the day. Not you, not you, not you, not you. It's on you. And when you remove that pressure from yourself, it's easy. You just go up and do whatever you want. But it takes a lot of work. It takes dedication. It takes relationships. So again, there's a really good room of people. And from what I've heard, well, you're a pretty stand-up character. Get around people in your life like that, right? Does that serve you?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Questions, anybody else? Anybody? Yes.
How did you get into public speaking?
Pete told me. It's true. I've never done this before. Was that?
This is the first part.
Yeah. Yes.
Really good.
Thank you. I'm going to answer your question in a second, but I'm going to answer yours in more detail. I have been coaching people virtually for 3 years. And it started out by being a good friend and showing up and answering people who have questions. So it started out by realizing that, again, my no half cake moment where I'm like, hey, this is not what life is supposed to be like. How do I fix this? I got around a couple people who I was like, yeah, that's what possibility looks like. I saw a definition of what was really possible. Like I removed the limits from my own life and I realized, hey, this guy Steve, yeah, that's awesome. He's living a good life. He's not just successful in terms of dollars, but he's successful in terms of like, does he lead in his house, his community? Is he a good person? Like I saw potential in somebody else and got around those people. And then the more I got around those people, they were like, hey, I like your perspective. Can you help me answer this question? And I had conversations with people. And shortly after that, they were like, let me call you up. I don't want you to do it for free because I appreciate your time. Let me pay you for it. All right, cool. And then I started doing that more and more. I've done it for people for business. I've done it for people for personal growth. I've never done it in front of a room of people where there wasn't a camera and a computer screen in front of me. This is the first time. So that was all. Pete called me is the answer. Yes.
What was your initial reaction once you got that call?
Okay. Actually, I think we talked about it. Yeah. Yeah, he asked me, and let me tell you this too. This is through no discredit of yours. I had been posting videos of myself talking about life on social media, Facebook, Instagram, whatever, just because I had gone through some struggles, and for me it was a good way to vent it out to the world and share, and hopefully someone took inspiration from that. So I got into the habit of whenever life gave me a curveball and I struggled with it, again, I still struggle with stuff, I leaned on my friends, relationships for answers, did the hard work myself, found whatever the answer was for me, and I shared it. And I don't think, maybe you correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think Mr. Pete here has ever hit the like button on any of my videos.
It's one or two.
All right, 1 or 2. But my point is, most of the time when I do something like that, it gets like 2 likes, 3 likes, like no one publicly says, hey Jim, you're doing a good job. If I based my value or my gifting on how many people hit the like button, I wouldn't be here right now. I'd be like, man, I did 2 of these videos, 1 person hit the like button, maybe it's not for me. And I hope that at least one of you in this room got some impact out of this conversation. I wouldn't be here right now. But it took me not caring about whether or not someone hit the like button, because more people like or celebrate the things going on in your life than you realize. But they're not going to celebrate you because they don't celebrate themselves. They're not proud of who they are. They're scared by your possibility. So I say all that to say, if you want to go do something, you do it. And you don't care what other people are going to give you an opinion on. If they don't hit the like button, all right, cool. Because more people have sent me messages I met in person. I meet people on the street who are like, where do I know you from? After a little conversation, oh yeah, I saw your video on Instagram. I was in a really rough spot in my life. This is a real story. That really helped me out. Thanks. No idea their name. And to be honest, I don't think they've ever liked or shared, but they lived a better life. Maybe it was 1% better, but it was better. Yes?
How do you, because it's nice that you can go out there and think, and when people tell you they're helpful, that you help them, of course, that's but how do you stop the inner saboteur in your head? Especially when you got that phone call from Keith for the first time saying, I'm not, you said I'm unqualified, I can't speak in front of a room of people. Like, when people ask you to do things and put yourself out there, or you want to go pursue a goal, how do you stop the negative self-talk?
You don't. You learn to use it as fuel. And I think that's the most important part, because I don't want to pretend that when he said that, I was like, all right, cool. Up until sitting in the parking lot before, I was like, I honestly don't even know what I'm going to talk about. I don't have a pre-written speech. Like, this is not rehearsed. It's just me sharing my life. The fear of how do I know what to do never goes away. And I think the more that you put yourself in situations where you're going to level up and you're going to get into rooms where you have to figure it out a little bit harder each time, more of that fear creeps in. You got this imposter syndrome, like, again, I'm not qualified to be here, right? You get yourself in front of a stage, you got to talk to people, or is the speaking thing, by the way, public speaking, or is it just talking in general?
Just talking.
Okay. So you get yourself in a conversation, and you may not have the answer, right? But you learn to, instead of being like, man, I'm afraid of talking to this person because I might not know what to say. If you learn to flip it into, I'm excited to get into a conversation where I don't know the answer, because it gives me an opportunity to build my skill of thinking on my feet, right? So it's really looking at this thing in front of me is gonna suck, okay? And it's gonna be what it is. It's gonna suck regardless of what energy I bring into it. If I come into it in the mindset of, I'm gonna fail, it's gonna be awful, I'm gonna have the worst time, they're gonna laugh at me, I'm gonna bring that energy in. I'm gonna come in like nervous that you guys are gonna throw stuff at me. But if I come in knowing that it's gonna be awesome, and I'm gonna be wrong with this a lot, but if I come in and know it's gonna be great, such and such, and I bring in the positive attitude, that's when you start to bring in the difference between attracting things to your life and being needy. And let me go on that a little bit more, actually, because that brings up a good point. I'm going to pick on you again. This is a female question. When a guy approaches you, from the romantic sense, okay? I'll keep this PG. Can you tell the difference between a guy who genuinely cares or someone who is needy? Okay, but fine, sometimes. In general, people can sense the difference between someone who needs something, there's an energy related to it, and someone who just attracts in their life because they're confident, they're positive, and they know it's going to work out. No one wants to be sold to. No one wants to feel like the other person on the other side of the relationship needs them for a reason. And it goes back to that loved, seen, heard, and appreciated. Right? You want to feel like the other person on the other side genuinely cares. And when you can bring your heart into it and lead from a place of love and compassion and intentionality, you can attract the positive things in your life. And I think that's one of the greatest secrets that no one really talks about, is there's no limit to the stuff you can do. You want to go have a really nice house, let's say on the ride here, you saw a really nice house at the window. Someone's living there right now, why isn't it you? You want a nice car? Cool, that could be you. You want to go do a thing? It could be you, someone else is doing it. Why can't it be you? And I think when you bring the intentionality into it and you come at it with a sense of confidence and purpose, and you know who you are, all these things are tied together. When you don't worry about the criticism of anyone in this room, then it doesn't matter. Because when I show up here, Yeah, there's a voice in the back of my head. Even as I'm talking right now, I don't know the next thing I'm going to say. Just being honest. Sometimes that's why I pause. But you start to lean into it. And the more you lean into it, the more you realize, I got this. And that confidence builds, that muscle builds. And then you start to look at those opportunities where like, hey, I want something I'm going to suck at because I know it's going to make me better. Did that serve you?
Yes, very much.
Thank you. Questions, anybody? No? Okay. Well, that was it. So.